So that means that we need to do this via MS Teams. I'm going to log in on the Auditorium-KZ and see how we can do that. Okay?
Even kijken. So I'm logged in here, and then how do I do this? I'm logged in here on MS Teams.
Oh, you cannot do it because he has to download it. There is no MS Teams. We have to do it.
No, the MS Teams is here. He just did it.
Okay. All right. So wait. You need to go through the invite. So can you log? Is it you now in there?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
Can you
in.
go through your?
Man, this is so small. I can't read anything. Oh, damn. Where's my Outlook?
I will do it. Let me just. I will find it for you.
Okay. Even with my glasses on, I can't read this.
But Jan is here, right? Jan is physically here, right?
Dirk Jan, yeah.
Yeah, then I will let you decide. We try to see how we can present for the students who are physically located here. Because for the online students it's not a problem. Let me see, I'll make you, now you're a presenter, so you can upload. We are also live streaming, so just give me 1 second. I will because for the online students there is no problem. It is only for the physical students here. Just 1 second.
So I can't see anything in my my Outlook.
No, you go Outlook, then you go
calendar. But that's the point. I don't see anything in my calendar. On this version, I have no idea why not.
Should I? Let me just. I will attach my computer. Maybe it's easier, right? And then we present from this.
This is empty. Area.
Can we connect my computer? Let me just go and ask this guy to come and connect us.
Okay.
Or all of them connect directly to the... Guys, do you all have the invite from the MPs? Can we connect? While I'm trying to sort this out, can you connect so Keith can start his presentation? Because he's not physically here. Do you have earphones or something? So, because otherwise we will just hear it times 19. Yes? No? Okay, Keith, you can start in about 5 minutes. So they are just getting ready, and I'm just going to go and get the testing to see if I can, how it will get projected on the main screen.
I can do that.
Yes, just a couple of minutes. All of them have earphones for the time being, and yeah. Yeah. Okay, 1 second.
trying to solve this. Bear with us.
He's coming. He's gonna serve that. We can sit here actually now.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, can you? So we need to project now.
Because
And Teams.
want hier zie ik mijn agenda niet, dus ik heb die link niet. Op een of andere manier.
Dan ga ik dus vaak in je service om.
Ja, dus dan willen we deze doen, want hij is online.
Oh ja, zal ik even voor je kijken?
Ja.
Hi.
Het is deze kabel, toch? Ja, hè?
Ja.
Is it possible, or I will tell him to start?
Yeah, I can try to put it on this screen, but
You want to use my computer, maybe?
But then if you send me again the link, then perhaps we can pick it up from mail.
to the meeting.
Ja, to the meeting invite. Because mails I have, maar ik snap niet waarom of dat ik hier geen agenda zie.
Even kijken, want je hebt een verzoek gekregen.
Ja. Dat is toch RBS schedule en agenda.
How do I send the link? Oh, you're in now. Because I can hear myself. There's a...
I'm here, I'm in.
Okay, so then you have the link.
No, I don't, because I don't have it on that one. I don't see the link, so you need to resend it. And then I have it in the inbox,
Oh, let me
and
check.
then I can open it.
How do I do that now? Go to my...
Pressure cooker.
Can I call him? Maybe it's easier.
Okay. Add this device. Okay. Wat zegt hij
I'm
nou?
calling you after.
Ja, nou, it's done. It's done. We're in.
Again? Okay. All right, you can start. We
Yeah,
have
the
the tech
question
guy
is-
here, so he's working with it. So we can start. Yes, and me and Arthur will be monitoring the questions from here and from online, so you
Volgens mij
don't have to
wel.
worry about that.
Okay.
Shall I first introduce myself shortly and then start the presentation, or shall I start right away?
Maar we horen hier niks,
Yeah,
hè?
just give me 1 second. What I will do is I will say good morning, everybody. Sorry for the confusion. Guys, you can just look at here and say hello to now. Okay, never a dull moment, I would say. So we sorted out. That's the most important thing. A few things, guys, for today's, let's say, presentation, today's, let's say, schedule. So Shields is going to make the presentation this morning. Then we will have, again, a break between 12 and 1. And then Dirk Jan is going to be physically here, so the GM of Ramvel. And we will create a Q&A session. So please also, during lunch or something like that, make sure that you meet with your teams and you prepare some questions, so we make that worthwhile. Anyways, okay, Keith, the floor is yours, okay?
Yes.
Bye.
Alright. Hello everybody. My sincere apologies for not being over there physically. I have become so accustomed with the fact that there is no online lecturing anymore that I took it for granted that we would have an online meeting. So again, my apologies. But what I will do is I will take you through my talk about the purpose economy in the next well, a little more than an hour, and I will make sure that we will have some time afterwards to get into questions, because it's quite hard to interact via Teams. So what I will do is I will first share this talk with you, and then we can interact afterwards, if that is okay with you. So let's dive into the purpose economy. And I don't know how familiar you already are with the term purpose economy or purpose, but you might have come across news items like this. And so there's quite a buzz going on about purpose. It's one of those new magic formulas in the business and economics domain, resulting in headlines like purpose is the business buzzword, or why purpose is key to corporate success. And as with all buzzwords, there's also a let's say an anti-movement or a dark side, which is of course called purpose washing. And I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but you might be familiar with greenwashing. But now there is also more and more criticism on purpose and on the fact that a lot of companies use purpose and purpose marketing to basically help them sell more stuff rather than being more socially or environmentally engaged. But I will get to that later on. But so it's good to on what purpose is all about. And to do that, I would like to start with what I consider one of the most important pieces of statistic that I know. And in this case, it is based upon a research done by Professor Richard Layard from the UK. And what you basically can see in this diagram is that that over a period of time, GDP and well-being, or in this case, subjective well-being, happiness, don't grow at the same pace. So there is an era and a period in which welfare and well-being grow at the similar pace and in the same direction, but at a certain point there is a tipping point wherein GDP remains growing and well-being doesn't increase anymore, or it even decreases. And what we know by now, and there's been a lot of research about that as well, and one of the new economic thinkers, Catherine Verbeek from Scotland, she actually coined the term overdevelopment. So overdevelopment is actually the tipping point where we see that economic development doesn't happen, or welfare growth doesn't happen for the benefit of well-being, but only at the expense of well-being. So if we look, in this case in the US, but in the Netherlands it's actually exactly the same. So since the 1960s, almost 60 years ago, we can see that GDP has only grown at the expense of well-being. So we have become dramatically more wealthy since the 1960s, but we haven't gained more well-being or happiness. And actually, our well-being, our sense of well-being and happiness has actually decreased over the last couple of years. So there is a gap, a growing gap between GDP and well-being, and there are reasons for that. One of the most important reason you can find on this slide, and I could have filled 15 or 20 slides with headlines like this that basically have one and the same message, and that is that we are in a both socially and ecologically very turbulent, dangerous era, and the fact that that danger that we have entered now is caused by economic growth. And so whether you look at climate change or biodiversity loss, but also the almost perverse gap in the wealth distribution in the world, where you have 8 men that now own the same amount of wealth as the poorest half of the planet, or the fact that since 2015 the richest 1% of the people have owned more wealth than the rest of the planet combined. It's just completely unsustainable and unfeasible. And what is really important is the fact that these messages are geared with economic causes. So there is a relationship, and we will get back to that later, between economic growth and ecological and social decline. And the second thing we learned, which isn't rocket science as well, but really important for our changing perception, is the fact that these news items, these messages about the negative influence, the destructive influence of economic growth on our social and on our ecological or environmental life, is caused by companies. So more and more you have headlines like this, where there is a relationship made between social or environmental misconduct and companies. And that fundamentally changes our perception of what economics is and what business is all about. It changes that in 2 fundamental ways. And it's really important that if we talk about purpose economy, in the Dutch language, we only have the word betekeniseconomie. But in the English language, there are actually 2 words that are associated with purpose and purpose economy, namely purpose and meaning. And the strange thing is, these words are used next to each other. So, for instance, I took 2 quotes from the book Purpose Economy by Aaron Hurst, and you can actually see him naming purpose economy is the quest for people to have more purpose in their lives, and this means consumers putting less emphasis on cost, convenience and function, and increasingly make decisions based on the need to increase meaning in their life. So you actually see that he treats purpose and meaning as one and the same thing. And in the second paragraph, you can actually see that he puts it even into one sentence. So this sense of meaning or purpose. So there is this assumption that meaning and purpose are one and the same thing, and I totally disagree with it. I think there is a fundamental difference, and I think it's really important to understand this difference. And this is also actually the focus of my professorship at the Rotterdam University of Applied Science. And so, in my opinion, this is my hypothesis, is meaning taking place in the penthouse of the Maslow pyramid. And I know that we can have a full-fledged academic debate about the viability of the Maslow pyramid, but let's just assume, for argument's sake, that we can acknowledge the fact that we as human beings have different needs, and the lineup of these needs isn't that important. The only thing is the acknowledgement that we have various different sorts of needs. And in my opinion, meaning takes place in the penthouse, so it's all about self-actualization or realization, and purpose is actually creating a new dimension, a new layer to the pyramid, or to the human need mix, which I like to call existential needs. And to show you the difference, so meaning is all about headlines like this. So meaning is ethically driven. So when you look at items like this, wherein companies are wanting to do well, employees looking for meaningful work, young people that want to have a life and a working life wherein they are able to have a positive impact, that is all about meaning. So when we talk about meaning, we are actually discussing post-materialistic needs and wants. So wants like wanting to do good, being of service, and all that. So that is what meaning is all about. Purpose is something completely different, where meaning is ethical. Purpose is existential. So I gathered a couple of slogans and quotes for you, but I think the one in the middle by Chief Seattle, a famous Native American: humankind has not woven the web of life, we are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things are bound together, all things connect. So purpose is much more about the comprehension, the acknowledgement of the fact that all life on earth is connected, interconnected and interdependent. And so where in meaning there is an ethical debate about what is good and what is bad, purpose is much more about the comprehension and the acknowledgement of both constructive and destructive forces in the living principles of life. And that results in headlines like this. And so purpose is about acknowledging the fact that ecology trumps economics. So that our current system, wherein economy dominates our society and also dominates ecology, is completely unsustainable. We need first and foremost a healthy living planet to have a healthy economy at the first place. We can't have an economy without ecology. So wherein the whole meaning phase is about a moral and legal debate, the whole purpose wave, the whole purpose phase is much more about a better understanding of the natural way of living principles on the world. So if you put those next to each other, then you can see the difference quite easily. And so meaning is an individual and sometimes also associated with a spiritual experience. So it's about self-realization, it's about my higher goal and my sense of meaning. So it's very subjective. So there are as many meanings as there are people on this planet of the earth. So each and every one of us has a completely unique sense of meaning, and it's ethical. It's about doing good as a virtue. Whereas if we look at purpose, purpose is universal and existential. So there is only one sense of purpose. So when we connect to that interconnected, interdependent reality of life, we experience the same sense of purpose. And so it's not about my higher goal, it's much more about the bigger picture. It's not about my sense of meaning, but the sense of purpose. And it's also not ethical in the sense that it's about doing good. It's actually the norm, because We are the system, and the system needs constructive activities to survive. So we either decrease the quality of the system, or we increase the quality, the living quality of the living system. So it's ethical against existential. And now there is something very interesting happening at this time and era, where we have two generations, namely Generation Y, the millennials, and Generation Z, the centennials, that actually fit these different characteristics of meaning and purpose. So the millennials are the meaning generation. Yeah? So millennials are driven by meaning. Millennials are driven by a sense of self-realization about wanting to have a positive influence on the world by being virtuous, etc. Whereas the centennials, which are the youngsters at this moment, they are much more driven by that sense of interconnectedness and interdependence. Yeah? So the meaning generation is an incremental generation, whereas the purpose, the centennial is a purpose-driven or a system-thinking, system-based generation. And now, the wonderful thing, or the most determining aspect that is happening, is actually that these two generations share a common ground. So there are sociologists that are already naming the blend or the merge of these two generations as Generation A, based upon the A of Anthropocene, because what both generations have in common, whether they are driven by an ethical demand or an existential demand, is that they want change. They want to change the current system as it is, by acknowledging the fact that the current system is from a system perspective destructive, and from a ethical perspective not good or bad, or whatever you want to call it. So these two groups, although there are many differences in generation characteristics, they share the common goal of wanting change. So this is the reason why there is so much turbulence going on at this moment on the planet. This is the reason why you see so many, especially young people, protest on the street. That many research papers show that a lot of the people are actually fed up with the system and want a system change. It is because there are two societal cohorts, two age groups that come together in one and the same demand or need. And this results in a huge societal movement, and there are many ways to name or frame this movement, but I'm particularly fond of the way that Joanna Macy, an American philosopher, has named this period, this era, and she calls it the Great Turning. And what she describes it as, it involves the transition from a doomed economy of industrial growth to a life-sustaining society committed to the recovery of our world. And that is, life-sustaining society is, in my humble opinion, is spot on of what we will see taking place in the next couple of years. More and more of our decisions won't be based anymore on creating industrial or economic growth, but much more on make our societies thrive, making life thrive, making sure that we enhance the quality of life. And so this is basically my professorship for the next couple of years in one slide. So we come from an era of conventional business practices, shareholder-based. The only business of business is business, and it's all driven by financial reporting. And we are already crossed the line and into the first wave, driven by millennials and their search for meaning. So this is the time and era of sustainability, where mostly based upon an ethical compass, we are seeing that companies are making incremental change and already broaden their view from a shareholder perspective to a stakeholder perspective, and trying to do good, trying to be virtuous, and rather than only maximize their profits. But what we will evolve into is in my opinion, the grown-up purpose economy, which again will be driven by the centennials that will enter the workspace in a couple of years. And they will take us into an existential comprehension about what life is and how we can make life thrive. And they will generate transformational change, introduce right holdership. I will get back to that later. And we will understand that business is actually doing good is actually a norm rather than a virtue. And so the first phase, driven by millennials, is ethical and incremental, and you could also call it the ethics economy, as the Ford Institute, a think tank from Norway, calls it. And the second phase, which will be centennial driven, is much more fundamental, existential, and transformational. And just to take you through a couple of various examples of how we can experience those changes. I really love these drawings. Their symbolism is, in my opinion, a lot more clear than many words. So we come from an ego era, where we have grown accustomed with the fact that man dominates the rest of nature. So man is above the rest, and as you can see in this picture, man is also raised above a woman, and thanks to the millennials, thanks to their search for meaning, we are already now in the eco paradigm, where we acknowledge the fact that we are not at all raised above the rest of nature. We are nature, and we are as much part of the living system in the biosphere as any other sort and species, and we are also as much dependent on the living system as all the other species. And the centennials will introduce the next phase, and the next phase is called seva, and seva is Sanskrit for serving or altruism. So I think that the purpose economy, a grown-up purpose economy, will have humans serving the greater good. And we as species are the only species that have the ability and the capacity to serve other species and to serve life, because of our intellect, because of our capability to cooperate, so we can't ask the mice or the plants to take care of the living system that we have destructed over the last couple of decades. We as humans did it, and we are also the only ones that are able to restore and regenerate that system. So I think that we will end up in thinking in terms of humans acting in service of that quality of life. And if you put it into straight business language, this is another way of looking at the same transition taking place. So we come from an era of shareholder value driven business and economics, where we have businesses or markets and economies that have no relationship whatsoever with the environment and with society. And we have operated like this for centuries, where we only looked at companies and economics from an economic perspective, and there was no relationship whatsoever between the economy and the rest of society. And of course, thanks to the millennials and their search for meaning, we are now in what is called shared value. The shared value paradigm, where we already acknowledge the fact that there, of course, is a relationship between business, the environment, and society. And there is no such thing as an autonomous, isolated economy with its own set of rules. Everything that happens in the economy happens in society and happens in the environment, and we already acknowledge that. But the centennials will take that acknowledgement one really important step further, and they will create what is called system value, where we have a radical flip of the starting situation, the shareholder value situation, where we will have business radically, fundamentally serving society and the environment. So rather the current normal where we serve the economy, where everything is operating in service of economic growth, we will enter a phase where everything that happens in the economy, in business, will first and foremost serve a social and an environmental goal. So radically different, 180 degrees. And another way of stating the same phenomena is via this picture, which is John Fullerton's. And John Fullerton is another new economic thinker, and he is the initiator of the regenerative economics. And what you can see here is basically a road map to the future. So we come from an era of conventional business practice, as I stated earlier, shareholder value driven, profit maximization, economic growth driven, and we have been tremendously good in conventional business practices. The fact that our economy, the GDP, grew dramatically for years and years and years, we think, to our capacity to create really profitable businesses. And but what we do now also is that what we learned is that that growth also came with a price. It degenerated both our communities, so socially, and also our environment, so ecologically. And because of that acknowledgement, we have now already migrated towards the age of sustainability. So driven by the millennials, we are now in the era of sustainability. There is no company, no organization anymore in the world that doesn't take sustainability really, really serious and does its best to sustainalize their business operation. But what you can see in this picture is that sustainability is nothing more than a third step in a process that has 5 steps. So sustainability is basically the turning point where we have less bad changing into more good. And so Fullerton introduces the fact that we will see in the next couple of years, and that is the purpose economy, much more activities that have a regenerative effect. And so rather than being a destructive force, we will see that companies will have a constructive influence on society or on the planet. So rather than only pursuing financial purposes and profit, we will see that companies will pursue societal purposes and societal profit as well. So that resulted in what I consider my working definition of the purpose economy, where I see it as an economy wherein decisions about production, consumption and distribution of goods is determined by an existential ethical market mechanism. And I just showed you what existential and ethical means. And by demand or supply of engaged goods. And with engaged goods, I mean goods that better the ecological and social living conditions. And a slightly different way of saying the same, you can also frame it as an economic system wherein strengthening of business conditions is intertwined with the strengthening of ecological, social and individual living conditions, or company management or country management based upon the pursuit of a thriving balance between welfare, which is about financial value, well-being, which is societal value, and wellness, which is personal value. So what does that mean? So what is, on a macroeconomic level, the process that we are in at this moment, and what will that process result in? So in my opinion, if you look at the left-hand side of this slide, you can see that welfare dominates well-being and wellness. So at this moment, we in the Netherlands, and with the Netherlands, almost all other countries in the world are based upon policy where we work on welfare, and that is based upon the assumption that we think that if welfare increases, that means that it is good news for well-being and wellness. So the reason why our Dutch government, and again, if I mention the Dutch government, I could also mention the US government, the German government, the Norwegian government. You know, it's widespread. They focus on GDP, they focus on economics, because well-being and wellness are a result of welfare. And actually, if you go all the way back to the source of this philosophy, you end up with Adam Smith and his invisible hand, wherein he basically states that our need, our demand for welfare is actually the basis for well-being and wellness. So if we leave it to the market, if we let people pursue individual welfare, that is actually the basis of attaining collective well-being and wellness. And what we know by now is that Adam Smith was right until the 1960s of the previous century, because until the 1960s, indeed, a growing welfare meant growing well-being and growing wellness. But since the 1960s, we have learned that a growing and increase of welfare results in a decrease of well-being and wellness. So I think that we will now enter a period where we will put well-being and wellness on the first position. And so rather than just focusing on economic growth, we will focus on the growth of well-being and wellness. And I will get back to that later, because there are a couple of countries already in the world that are doing this from a national perspective. So we will put welfare on the second place, and the economy on the second place. And I think the end game of the purpose economy will be a balanced situation wherein well-being, welfare and wellness are treated as equals. So rather than they being different aspects of a healthy society, I think we will acknowledge the fact that in a well-functioning society you need a just amount of welfare, a just amount of well-being, and a just amount of wellness. And just to be sure, the difference between well-being and wellness is well-being is the objective, collective quality of life, which means all sorts of social or ecological parameters. So think about soil quality or social inclusion quality, whereas wellness is our subjective perception of quality of life, and so happiness. So there is a fundamental difference between our personal perspective and the objective quality of social and environmental living conditions. And what we know by now is that we have to work on those as well. We can't treat well-being and wellness as results of welfare. We have to do things that are good from an ecological perspective and social perspective that might hurt the economy, but we still have to do them. Otherwise, we will never be able to increase our sense of well-being. And this is actually what is happening at this moment. So this is the reason why you see more and more of items like this criticizing GDP. And I integrated the sources of these headlines with you, because if these would be from, I don't know, hardcore anarchist fanzines, it would be completely logical to have a fair amount of criticism on GDP. But this is actually straight from the hardcore current economic mainstream, like World Economic Forum, OECD, Harvard Business Review. So even from the hardcore economic institutions, we more and more come to the conclusion that GDP is totally unfeasible and unsustainable. And what we also see, and this is what I just mentioned, that we see countries that actually leave GDP behind and focus on what they call well-being economics. So you might have heard of Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister from New Zealand. I think she's one of the heroes of the purpose economy. She is one of the first prime ministers that actually left GDP behind an economic growth to pursue other elements, especially mental health issues, that she thought were more important, were more valuable than pursuing economic growth. And New Zealand, Scotland, Wales, and Iceland, and soon also Costa Rica and New Zealand have now created what is called WeGo, well-being government. So there is now a sort of an alternative to the G7, based upon countries that are actually pursuing well-being rather than just welfare. And just to give you an idea of the difference between well-being economy and welfare economy. So welfare economy is based upon the fact that our sole societal development method is increasing welfare, is increasing economic growth, is increasing the financial results of companies, whereas well-being is pursuing 39 parameters. So rather than just pursuing one, New Zealand now pursues 39 parameters. What we also see is a shift in language. So we're very familiar with terminology surrounding sustainability, but we now see new terms entering the economic and business realm, and one of the new terms that is being used more and more is thrivability. And thrivability is, you could say, is beyond sustainability. So in the word sustainability, an important element is the word sustain. So what you see is that when companies discuss sustainability and their sustainability efforts, it is also based upon the fact that companies are able to sustain their current way of doing business. So they remain doing business in the same way that they've done, but they only do it with the utmost respect for society and the planet. Where in thrivability, more and more is about leaving your current way of doing business behind and to start with something completely new, wherein it's not about your business anymore, but it's about the living system and the serving of the service of that. And if you talk about thrivability and new forms of microeconomy or new forms of business tactics, this is a wonderful example done by the people of Art 3.0, which is an international think tank. And what you can see here is, if you go all the way to the upper left, you see philanthropy as well, basically the basis of the basis to do good as a company, and you see all the way on your lower right flourishing as what they consider the end game of business tactics. And what you will see in the next couple of years is more and more new companies getting into business strategies such as regenerative business or thrivable business or value cycles or system value or multi-capitalism, and all these new terms and items you will see. And what you will also see is that they will grow in scale and in scope. So it won't only go into the direction of transformative rather than incremental business practices, but you will also see that they will become more and more mainstream in the next couple of years. And that results in the fact that right holdership will be the new normal. So right holdership, the difference between shareholders and stakeholders is, shareholders are, of course, are people that have a financial interest in the company, whereas stakeholders are all the people that are that have a stake in the performance of the company, whether that is direct or indirect. But right holdership goes one very fundamental step further than that, by integrating also all the people and all the other living beings that are being influenced by the business but don't have an influence on the business. And so each and every business influences all sorts of elements in society or in the biosphere. And we are used to take into account all the people that have a relationship with the company, a formal relationship, what we call stakeholders. But what you will see is that we will now take into account all these forms of living that are being influenced by business, and what we will also see is that companies will do their best to treat their right holders in a just way. Yeah? So not creating destruction, but rather create construction in the next couple of years. What you also will see is a transition from incremental change into transformational change. So if you look at the current way that impact and creating and making impact is framed, you can basically see that companies that want to do good start with an issue, and then via the world famous theory of change steps, input, output, outcome, impact, they make a difference in the world. But what we learn because of the centennials and the system thinking is that many of the issues that companies work on are basically symptoms, and that there is a deeper lying root cause. And we also learn that much of the impact that has been created by companies that do good is really welcome and really good, but it's only incremental, which means that because it's only treating the system or the symptoms, that as soon as the organization or company stops with their intervention, the problem returns. So there isn't really a transformational change taking shape in society. So if you, for instance, take the issue of hunger, there are many. So just to give you an idea, at this moment we have about 100 million people in the world, or 100 million people that are hungry. And you have many organizations and companies that try to tackle hunger with impactful programs. But as soon as these organizations stop their work, hunger returns. So if we want to change hunger, we have to change the root causes creating hunger. And we more and more learn the difference between impact and progress, or between incremental change and transformational change, and we will work on that as well in the future. And we will also see that if we talk about virtuous companies, social driven companies, we will also enter a new realm where we don't look to the person who is running that business, which we call social entrepreneurs, or we don't focus on the company or the format being the social enterprise. But what we will see more and more is that we will treat social entrepreneurship as a system. So rather than it being a special breed of people or a special breed of companies, we will see that we will focus on changing the ecosystem. And so, for instance, in Rotterdam, part of my lectureship or professorship will be based upon investigating the potential and the possibilities of turning Rotterdam as a city in an ecosystem wherein social entrepreneurship can thrive. And that means that in that ecosystem there isn't only room for social enterprises. That means that also the corporates, or also family-owned businesses, and also all sorts of civic initiatives need to be integrated into one big system that has a positive impact on the well-being of the people and all the other living beings in Rotterdam. And so also in that phase we will see system thinking entering the development criteria. And last but not least, we will evolve in what I think will be called natural business. So we come from an era of usual business driven by profitability. So business is business. The only reason we have businesses is to create a profit. We are now in the stage of what I like to call moral business, which is sustainability. So yes, businesses are still there to pursue only profit, but we do that with the utmost respect of the community or society in broad. But we will evolve into what I like to call natural business that isn't profitability based or sustainability based, but thrivability based, where business is serving the greater good, is operating in service of our social and environmental life, and where we will have a value language that is also broadened. So we won't only look at the financial performances of companies anymore, but we will measure and value companies based upon their integral, holistic value. So also, for instance, their ecological profit or their social profit. So in my opinion, I think in I don't know, 10-year time, we will find it as normal that companies report their, for instance, biodiversity profit as they will report their financial profit. And we will also value that biodiversity profit. So where we now see that companies have financial performances and reports, and then in some cases there is an impact report as a sort of an appendix, I think that will be integrated into one new normal where we will merge financial performance and profit with social profit and also ecological or environmental profits. And that, I think that sum is an indicator of the thrivability of a company. So that is in almost an hour my pressure cooker starting point of the purpose economy. So I really hope that you were able to get a bit of a grasp of what I think is the purpose economy and how it will influence and change the way that we will have that we will experience the economy and business. So what differentiates purpose economy thinking or thrivability thinking from the way that we look at business in current is, in my opinion, we will go through a economic system change in the next couple of years. So rather than a slight change in the way that we look at our economy and business, which is what sustainability is all about, I think we will go through a fundamental disruption where we will completely leave our current value language behind, and also the way that we report businesses and the way that companies operate into a fundamentally new way of looking at business, which we could call like broad value or broad profit or whatever you want to call it, or broad economics or integral economics or integral value. But that is what the purpose economy is all about. So if you have any questions or remarks, or you want to raise a discussion, I'm all open for it.
Can you hear us, Kees, or not?
No.
Can you hear us, Kees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear
Okay.
you.
Good. Well, that's great. So I don't know whether you've heard, but there were many ping sounds during your presentation. We've had a very live debate on the chat. So if you could open that one, then you can at least have a bit of a flow of a read through.
I've opened it. Yes.
There are the majority of the discussion was about it is all very nice and well what you state here, but it looks like this is a very let's say first world type of thinking, and what about, let's say, the catch-up of the third world, if you still are allowed to call them, to get to the same type of welfare as the first world has now. So Can you comment on that, if there is a timing on that or not?
Yeah. Yeah, so let me start with that, because that is a very valid remark, and it is also something that Catherine Trebek, who introduced the whole phenomena of overdevelopment to the economic realm, has introduced as well. So in her book, which is called The Economics of Arrival, she acknowledges the fact that that there is a huge gap between overdeveloped countries and underdeveloped countries, and that it is completely ridiculous that we now come to the conclusion that basically ecology tells us that there is no more room for the economy to grow. We have reached the end of a finite planet, and it would be absolutely ridiculous to make underdeveloped countries the victims of the fact that we, as first world countries, developed countries, have created with our affluence. Because and I don't have the specific numbers with me at the moment, but a very large percentage of the footprint problems, our ecological footprint problems, are caused by a relatively small amount of people, namely the first world countries in the world. So what she suggests is that we degrow or decrease our economies in the next couple of years. So there is room for countries that need economic growth to continue growing for a couple of decades. So what she basically says is we have wealth, more than enough wealth in the world. It's just very poorly distributed. So she suggests that we take the data serious and take into account that we have grown in the Netherlands, for instance, almost 300% since the 1960s, but none of that economic growth had any positive effects on well-being. So we can easily decrease and degrow our economy without losing well-being. Whereas a country like Uganda needs more economic growth to reach that saturation point. For them, it is quite feasible to grow their welfare, because that will result also in an increase in well-being. So the only solution to this is a global reallocation of accessible wealth.
Okay, so I understand that there is definitely a phasing in there. The big question, of course, is that how are, let's say, economies or governments or companies making that step to allow the country, like you just suggested, Uganda, to create that economy thriving up to the level as we have in the first world. So that's something which I don't expect you to be able to answer. If you could close the presentation, then we can see the view of all the people, and then we can get first the questions for let's say 10 minutes or so of the people who are online by raising the hand and opening the mic, and then we go for the last 10 minutes we go to the auditorium over here. Okay?
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
All right, cool.
So, any questions from the people online?
Okay, Luis.
Hi, may I ask a question?
Of course, go ahead.
Okay, this has been a movement that's been going on since the 1960s, this trying to change and realizing that we can't continue abusing the globe. And yes, I agree there's been a little bit of momentum over the last years, because it's become absolutely obvious that we can't continue this way. However, in view that this has been going on for 60 years already, is this momentum going to be sufficient to make the changes, especially when people are still hungry and unsafe?
Yes.
Will we be able to have a global response to, and who would lead that global response in order to make a change?
Well, it's a good question, and I also see in some remarks people quite rightfully stating that it is an interesting topic, but it sounds all rather utopic, and I totally get it. But on the other hand, there is, and this is what I meant with broadening the basis of the Maslow pyramid with an existential basis, the existential need, because, and I can't state this loud and clear enough, we are living in a fundamentally unique time and era, because we are the first and only generation that is being aware of the fact that we are being threatened in our existence. We might have been threatened in our existence 10 times before, but we weren't aware. We know we are being threatened right now. So we know that science states that climate change and all the ecological problems that come with that, especially the collapse of biodiversity, will in the end threaten the existence of our species. You know, it could wipe us out. And that changes everything. So because there isn't, if you take that serious, if you take that data serious, there isn't really a discussion about the economic feasibility of this. It's a fact. We have to do it. We have to deal with it. And that's why I have been stating many times before that we can't respect or acknowledge the importance of this COVID crisis more than enough, because it actually it has proven us that we can think and do whatever we want to do, but we are completely powerless to some external disruptions. So actually COVID learned us that we can act in from a perspective of something that is bigger than the economy, that is bigger than and society. And we also learned that COVID demolished our current economy. That there is no way that we will be able to continue and create a healthy, functioning society in the way that we are used if we still have an economy that is so fragile or influential or depending on external circumstances. Because one thing is sure, that COVID is child's play compared to the disruption that biodiversity loss and climate change will create. So, and again, this is uncontested territory. We've never been here before, so it's only natural that we are struggling with this, because we are used to divide the world in countries and in markets and in economies, and we have winners and losers, and we have profit, and we have, well, and all of that is completely useless for the task ahead. The task ahead is that we make or keep the planet a livable place where we can have an economy in the first place, rather than end up with a completely degraded landscape that offers only place for a couple of humans. That is the reality.
Kees,
yes?
I just want to a little bit bring it also down to our topic, so we can kind of focus a little bit more. So this is really very interesting, because what we're looking now is how the business models are actually changing for the corporations, how fast
Yes.
they can change. And of course, you know, in this particular case, we're looking about the agri, let's say, supply chain, where we have a lot of limitations, parameters. We talked about water capacity, for instance. What you bring here, which I really like, it's a reminder about how a mega trend is directly impacting the business decision making and how in the business models at this point, and how fast these organizations need to adjust and how, because the diversity within those supply chains is huge. And we also know that from country to country there are different priorities, and not only, but there are also different conditions. However, you know, if we are looking now for a more, let's say, purposeful life cycle, or the companies are moving towards there, what does it really mean? And especially if we're looking for seeds for food, we see a massive shift right now about what we should eat, how we should live, we need to have control about where, like, we need to know the name of the person who picked our, let's say, coconut that we eat. And this has a direct impact into that stream, let's say. What are your views about this? How fast do you see these organizations will go towards which business models, but also how the governments also will support that, because you know, business is a business. In the end of the day, you have to make profit. How you make the profit is it's a different story, but in the end of the day, it's profit driven. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, as you saw in my keynote, I make an important difference between incremental change and transformational change. And what we see at this moment is incremental change. So we see companies or countries that have the courage to look at the way that they do business, or they run the economy in a different way. But in this moment, that is, from a systemic perspective, it's not enough. And even what is more important, it also is it is damaging the business perspectives of the companies that do business. So to put it very simply, at this moment, from the current system perspective, it is more profitable to do stuff that is really bad for people and the planet, because there is a higher profit margin to be made, and you will end up with better results for the shareholders. So this is a system value. So this is one of the, and there is no way, no company on its own can change that system. We need the whole global community to change that system, to create a new value language, to create new value, to enable to move from incremental change to transformational change. And so at this moment, companies can only create incremental change. And what companies can do to incremental change is actually really simple. And that is, what is the utmost best you can do to, in first case, reduce your harm that you create with producing whatever product or good you are producing, and maybe even turn it into doing good. So rather from -1 to 0, maybe you can actually create from going from 0 to +1 as a company. And we see many examples of companies that do it, and that is phenomenal, and it is also really important, because it all starts with having living examples, companies that actually show the potential of creating new business models, of new way of operations, of creating new supply chains, of all of that. And that is what is happening at this moment. So I think it's really important to divide incremental change from transformation, and acknowledge the fact that for transformational change we need the governments, and we need the consumers, we need the whole global community, because it demands a new system theory, because the current system theory is based upon welfare, our whole economic domain. That is also why I am asked to develop purpose economy as a new domain in economics, because also the books, the curricula we use in school are all based upon the old school welfare theory driven, economic growth driven, economic normal. And again, there is nothing wrong with that method. The only problem there is that it is unfeasible and unsustainable. So I also saw a question about what do I think about the stock markets, that they in the midst of all this they go to record highs, and I totally acknowledge that. But stock markets are based upon that. So stock markets are based upon the assumption that if we invest money, there will be a return, and there are many economists out there that don't believe for a second anymore that the debt that we have created will ever be returned in financial growth, because of the simple reason that the decoupling that is necessary to be able to grow our economy with decreasing our footprint on the planet is, from an academic perspective, is complete and utter bullshit. There is no academic proof whatsoever for the potential of decoupling. So I think this, in the next couple of years, will result in a huge crash of the stock market and the global economy, because of the fact that we will acknowledge the fact that there is no more room for growth, that we need to change our way in a fundamental way, rather than having the assumption that green or clean is a new growth economy, because there is no more room for growth anymore.
Okay, so thanks for that, Kees. I would like to open the floor for questions in the auditorium, and we use the mic.
Guys, I have 5 more minutes, because I have to be in another meeting at 12 sharp, and I have to do some preparing. So I need to go out a bit early. So my apologies, but
so,
yes, Suzanne, you can forget your pensions.
Any question in the room, which we can answer quickly?
Can somebody?
We see no hands over here. We see no hands. So. Okay, then it leaves us for thanking you, Kees, for doing it here, and apologies to all that we had to do this via an MS Teams link instead of doing it live, which was the original idea for us, but never mind. So thanks a lot, and we will keep. If you can dial off, then we'll have a short discussion amongst us, and then we'll.
Yeah, let me know. I'm really interested in feedback.
Yeah. Okay. Good. We'll do. Thanks a lot, Kees.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Okay, guys. For the rest of the day, we have the lunch break now. Like I said, Dirk Young will be here. Also for you guys, if any of you is in Rotterdam and you want to meet him, he's going to be physically here. So maybe an idea will be, if you want to join the rest of the group, please make sure you have your questions. Take that 1 hour, because that's the last chance, effectively, for you to ask him anything about the company or what he thinks, what he wants, deliverables. So you are, you're all set. So tomorrow you can just speed up your process and finalize your analysis. Are there any? It's the same stream. It's the same stream. Yes. If you are looking how you're going to connect, it's the same stream. So no new links, no nothing. We're going to continue here.
We're going to continue also here in this MS Teams.
Yes, we will have everything open as we did it today. Also, what you don't know is we're using the mic over my computer because we have no sound. But anyways, do you have any questions from you guys online before we stop? Any questions? Operational questions or anything like that? Did you find it interesting? Yeah, so it gives another idea how something as vague as that is driving the change, and how the companies should incrementally start thinking about adjusting gradually their businesses. Yeah. Okay, I don't see any comments in the chat, so we'll see you guys at 1 o'clock. All right? Bye. Okay, let's go and see if there is any lunch.
Yeah, but we'll let's. Apparently we're paying. Let's be honest.
No, but I'm afraid they cannot charge us.
So really, I think if you sit back, so he mentioned that he went to information. I would challenge you guys to start making a big leap towards looking for with all the parts. How can you get to the level that you want only with just one shackle in the chain being implemented or do it on the whole? By doing that, you create value for everybody. That would be the best approach. Big mountains, big rocks, I don't know. But at least they need to explore. Hearing the story for the second time. She wanted to teach us.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. So doubtful that this is the right approach. Where we are able to link it properly.
I think again, things are pushed down, and they are not thought.
So we need to shut down all the.
They're all closed, I think. We don't have to. Okay. I turned them all off.
Good. We leave this open, then. But somehow, I have no idea why we don't have any sound in this. Because I honestly believe that the only sound we had was via the mic.
Yeah. No, there is no sound there. That's why I left it on. At least we came up with a solution, right?
Yeah.
But again,
But then you see the plop-up of the screens that makes ploink, 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 that makes so much noise.
I was thinking how we can mute that from there, but I'm not sure how you can mute this.
No. There's something in between. I don't see it. I can't solve it. Sorry. No.
Oh yeah, maybe from there, no?
think we...
What?
I have no idea what I did.
Nothing. You just set the cursor. Here.
Okay, good. Good. It looks like, whoa.
Yeah, that's fine. All right.
Good.
Let me see if I... when is Dirk Jan coming?
He said he would be here.
Yeah, and I cannot believe he says I didn't know we are in physical. I mean, I said, even my invite says for those who are online, yeah, we are all here.
Yeah.
I mean...
Shall I give him a ring? See where he is?
Yeah, and then we know if we go to...
Hey, goedemorgen. Hey, ze hebben geen lunch gebracht, dus wij gaan boven zitten bij het hoe heet het, waar we van de week ook zaten. Dus als jij die kant op komt, dan zien we je daar en dan regelen we het plaats. Goed? Oh, oké, ja, dat is prima, joh. Dat is prima. Ja? Oké, prima. Oké, helemaal goed. Prima. Hey, dankjewel alvast. Goed zo, tot zo. Bye bye. He will arrange lunch at his place, and then he joins us at 12:30.
Okay, so we go up this way, or let's take the one platform and...
We're going to close this, or what do you do?
I think it should be okay. I'm just gonna only put my computer there. We can ask, actually it is Catherine up there. They are bringing lunch. But the lunch they brought yesterday, Monday, it was tamaga. They make hot lunches. They could bring one of the hot lunches.
It's sandwiches, that's what really. In the Netherlands, you have
Oh my, sorry, my money. Sorry, I forgot my payment method. Yes. But Andres didn't send me the. Actually, that's a good point. He didn't send me the presentation. Oh no, I uploaded it. Right? Yes.
No, he put that into.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Just 1 second. I'm just going to put this. Oh no, I put it already. Wait, I am. This is. Yeah, it's already out.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey.
We have some music.
Yeah.
Maybe we can.
Shall we get a coffee?
I'm fine.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to get some coffee then.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I
You kiss? Not coffee?
No, because I have a Red Bull, so I think.
Yeah, you're nervous already. Ik kan wel halen hoor, dus zeg maar wat je wil.
Een kleine kop. Ja, niet zo'n die vol.
Geen espresso, maar op een gewone een espresso. Oké.
Ja. So, how were the days here?
It was a bit eventful, but we figured it out because the speaker did not come here, but he would be online, so we were waiting for him. And then we couldn't, so we improvised, right? Because the sound doesn't work if you broadcast via Teams. So I thought, okay, if we put this here, it works. So in the end, it worked.
Okay.
But it was a little bit of improvisation.
Pressure cooker with the other side.
Yeah, but it's always very busy, especially this period now. For us, it's extraordinary because we also
you get. I think you get a lot of. You get it back from the process, from students, from yeah. You were in the CC, so I'm also thinking. I'm in the company now. I'm 54, so I'm a managing director now for maybe 20 years in 2 companies, and maybe this is normal in these days, but I would like to go on, let's say, working for definitely there is potential to do it, but not this way altogether. And I did some projects and students coaching in thesis. I still do one requested Paul, and I'm also in the living lab now, so it's a bit much. But I thought by myself, okay, let's do these things and see what you get out of it. But I do, but what I get out of it is I like. You can see that you can add something, you get something back by looking at it from different angles. You get the students to think and to come with feedback, and that's a totally different way of working in a way. Although I also 65 people in my company, so I also coach people and help them further. But it's different. But, I can understand that it gives a lot of satisfaction.
Well, you generate influence the next generation, because if you consider we have a higher organization, the impact we have is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Even if it's 1% of those actually at one point really get it, right? It's you still have shaped the next generation in a way. So
that's also highly important, and it matters. Let's do it. It matters.
No, it's nice, and I mean I worked in the States and in the UK, and before I came here, I have been in many universities, in completely different type of universities, completely different level of universities, but always but I always work with the industry, plus independent, plus also part of the university. So we also do consulting and grant money and everything like that. I like that relationship more. And my last job was I was a CEO of the company, so I hated it. And for me it was like, okay, you reach that level. If you don't like it, it's not a story. And okay, financially it was not really. I had pressure in the sense that I'm breathing. So it worked really well, and.
In the end, you have to do something not every day, that makes you happy, where you feel you can do something where you feel good in the end. Most of the time, it's good like that.
I mean, it's really personal, right? Like for me, maybe I'm a little bit more idealistic for the company, but I like to see people. Anything that has to do with innovation for me and thinking, don't think like anyone else thinks. Being very solution based and driven. You can do it in business, but you can't do it as you can do it here. Right? So you have much more freedom to explore. And if companies come to us, and if companies come to us, we know automatically they come because they can sort it out. Right? So automatically you know that you need to think not like they think, but you need to think differently, because otherwise they will have found the solution themselves. Right? And this is also what gradually we will start building with the program, because I started about a year ago, and then I took over after like in 2 months. I was hired as the coordinator of the program. So we have Freek. I told you he's going to work a lot with these relationships with the companies and building that in the long term somehow. Of course, now we don't do it. It's informal relationship. We haven't, made anything very formal. Like for instance, in MIT, we have formal relationships with companies. So
both you have as business school, formal and informal.
Here right now we don't have formal. relations. Is we have it in a more informal way, and you can.
What's the code of the in for this one? MSc and then?
MSc. MSc SCSS 119. S. But if you type sustainability, it just takes you there.
Supply chain
Yeah.
strategies,
Yeah.
sustainability.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but that,
The one I'm looking at is not published. Is that correct?
No, it's you are looking for. It's not 2021.
It's for
Yeah.
February.
Yeah. So intentionally I
Yeah.
did not publish it because otherwise it will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
but I think the relationship between staff of education, maybe the bachelors in a way as well, and companies too, especially for the students to really find out also what it is about
Yeah.
and exchange experiences. This living lab experiment from the bachelor is a little bit hindered because of COVID, but still I still think it's quite a good theme. It's a little bit like pressure cooking, but in a different way. And there's a learning contract and there's more time, but bringing in let's say the students, the company and school, and not automatically with a path, this is the way to go, but then brainstorming and ticking from the left to the right and then coming somewhere. That does bring a lot, I think, and that could also help of course the company and school and most particularly the students in their understanding of what am I going to do, in what field of work. So I would say, and you see that with many business schools, that's what it is. The well-known ones, Nijelo, and that's what they do that all the time.
Yeah, but it is hand in hand, especially in business schools. You cannot really separate because you have to have relevance in the industry, and the industry has to be realistic to see what's coming up in terms of human capital.
You must be prepared to invest.
Yes,
time especially.
Well, any organization is a living organism. It's an ecosystem of humans, no matter how much technology you will ever have.
Yeah.
But the final decision, it's still up to a human to say yes or no. And so it's really important also for the industry to see how the young generation is learning, because it's significantly different. Like for instance, it was a year back or a couple of years back, we went to Amsterdam to see Uber, for instance, the headquarters. I am a member of the Harvard MIT because I went there, I worked there. And then when we went there, the interesting thing is the average age of all employees was about 24, 25. Friday after 4 o'clock, they turn off lights, everything, it becomes a club. We were having a meeting because it was Friday, we were there, and you will go up and you will see like analysts with a glass of wine next to the computer. And so the idea is, okay, how do I attract the right people, but also the right people that need the right conditions. So you can't have an innovation in a very hierarchical organization with looking like that. You need to have the space to create that. And also it has an impact. Okay, like what we were discussing was like, okay, if I am now starting and I have all of this, where do I go growing into a company actually? Because before, in order to have all of these extras from the company, you have to grow, right? But now it's expected. And it's a really interesting balance about to see. Every organization has its own culture, its own mentality, but actually how this is changing and evolving with the young generation coming in.
And they regard other things more important than traditional methods.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 1 minute.
We have 1 minute left.
But we need to...
The questions come.
Guys, where's the other guys still for lunch?
No questions.
Can you do it again with,
Yes,
with the
yes,
mic?
yes.
Okay, good. So if you can do that one on.
Okay.
I'll walk around to pick up questions.
Okay.
Can you text them, guys? Can you send them a text?
Hello. Ah,
All together. Okay.
We should start inviting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enter again here.
Brian is there as well.
Blended technologie allemaal. Zij zitten dan ook onder in de boot blijkbaar. Nou ja, ze mogen hier niet lunchen. Dus die hebben daar gezeten met lunchen. Ja, ik weet niet precies waar ze samen hebben gezeten.
Okay, so I'll do this one. Hello, everybody. You had a nice lunch? Yeah? All right. Okay, so what we're going... Oh, I need to open this one. Okay, so what we are going to do is... Dirk is here with us. So it's a Q&A session. So what we could do is you can start asking some questions, or you can provide some feedback about what you have done so far. What are your thoughts? And how we are going to do it is Arthur is going to have the mic for the students who are already here, and then we will also take, I will be taking the questions that they are from the online students. Okay?
Okay, so we do by group?
We could also do it by group, yes.
That's perhaps easier or not. So, group 1. Anybody from group 1? Is group 1 not here? Okay, so then
we need some.
then they're online.
You are group 1.
You're group 1. Okay,
Yeah,
so
give them a little bit of time. They're getting set up.
You have your questions ready, I hope. Yeah. Okay. Good. Excellent. So let's make sure that they're. Let's start with the questions for clarification, or the elements which you've done research on and where you have questions on. And then at the wrap-up, let's say, then we'll do a bit of questions on what to expect and guidance for Friday. Let's do it like that, okay? So clarifications first. Yeah? Group 1? This is a question and answer session, so you should ask questions. Yes. Yeah. Here you go.
We wanted to know some details about when you mentioned about blockchain in the supply chain. We wanted some details about which system are you using and how do you interact with your growers or suppliers in respect to blockchain. Are there users of your blockchain or they are also owners of another blockchain, or how it is?
Okay.
You can keep it until...
Okay.
Well, we are heavily involved, or we are involved in blockchain. Although we don't have a system ourselves, or a system yet. I'm not sure if we need to. The blockchain, in the end, let's say the most simplest example is that as a consumer, you come in the supermarket, you scan the QR code, and you can see all the way back to the farm from wherever it comes. What way it has taken to be here with sometimes even intermediary steps. As we are, and you could call that a total supply chain, obviously. We are in that supply chain, and we take certain roles and functions in that supply chain. And in that capacity, we do feed our information relevant for the blockchain to the partner who is managing the blockchain. And that is, that can be a supermarket. That can be, is most of the time a company which is business to consumer. So it's a Dutch company. Recently, it was in the newspapers. Verstegen spices. Maybe you've seen it. Yeah, and that was quite a good example of how it works. So they effectively manage the whole supply chain until the shelf of the supermarket. So they are also expected to have that blockchain in their hands. We are working with kind of Verstegens, if you like, as we are business to business, and we provide that part of the information relevant for the blockchain and have that fully in our ERP system, which is, its system is called AX Dyco Trade, if you like. The DYCO Trade, Dyco Trade. If you Google that, then you see that it is a trade management ERP system, which is especially designed for companies like us. And in that ERP system, there are functionalities and applications which support blockchain feeding, if you like.
Oh, okay. Do you also have only transparency in as a ledger, or even financial statements and so on pass through the same ledgers of the blockchain?
That depends. In the end, it will definitely go that way. And with some parties, I'm sure it's already the case. Until now, in our case, we only are required to deliver qualitative content information, so more related to the track and trace, related to where does the product come from, and what steps has it gone through until we deliver it to the next step, if you like. And if I would then use a spices company, for instance, then it means that we supply that ingredient to them, and they take it the next step. So in their blockchain, in their total blockchain, we take part of it.
Have you been involved or used fair trade or direct trade before?
To fair trade?
Yeah.
Fair trade is definitely, but that's a different totally different element that not automatically related to blockchain. Yeah, fair trade is all about fair pricing and all about does every chain in the supply chain get a fair price, and can that be proven? Yes, we are. UTZ is something in the cacao which relate, for instance, to fair trade, to fair pricing in our field of business. I'm absolutely in favor of course, of fair pricing. But what I have also experienced, but maybe that is a limited experience from my side or our side, is that you also get audited and by institutions who manage that fair pricing. Obviously, it must be monitored, but they are so expensive. If you have to take that element also in your pricing, yeah, what is fair? Then it's. Now I'm a bit cynical, and again, maybe because that's our limited experience, but I think. Yeah, that is an element that should be taken into account, whether it doesn't push it over the edge, because the principle of fair pricing is top, obviously. Okay. Yeah.
Last question.
Yes.
In the past, have you thought about some investments you could do to the farmers, probably to improve some sustainability aspects like rainwater harvesting or some kind of activities you're putting money at the farmer side?
So far, we have not done that in that form. Doing investment like that means that yeah, let's say you invest kind of in the asset side of the company even, and that assumes a relationship which we today do not have with our suppliers. What we do is that we pre-finance, as I said, I think also Monday, we do crop pre-financing, which gives working capital, liquidity to a company. And by doing that, they don't need all their own cash, if you like, to only manage that crop, but they can then also do the investments on other sides, because there is some cash space available, which we would provide. But it is a potential indirect effect. But the direct answer to your question is that today we don't do it because it would be relevant if we would be a co-owner or be the owner of the origin company. Then it is a logical consequence.
But you do invest socially with your separate entity?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. But that is, it is. I also stand up a bit. That's easier. No, definitely we do that. But we do that by enabling the company in the sense that they can, for instance, with the Brazil nuts example, get families there, get their kids educated, build a supermarket. So, yeah, we do facilitate it, and we donate even that money, and we don't expect anything back from it other than maintaining a good relationship. But I understood your question more in the sense that investing in their asset base. Yeah. What we have seen is, for instance, that with a macadamia supplier in South Africa, I do recall that they were planning to invest on kind of an oven to where they put in all the shells. If they get the macadamia nuts from the field, they crack the nuts and you get all those shelves. And normally those shelves, yeah, you see them as walking paths in the farm. But there is a lot of rest which goes nowhere, which is brought away. And there are ovens, regenerators of energy now developed, and with that company, he was able, he said, if we would pre-invest on the crop, to make that investment. And that is a sustainable investment because you reuse, in fact, the shelves of the nut. And that is, those things are increasingly happening in origin countries. This is just an example, but yes, it's going fast. So it's going fast there. Differs per origin, but yes.
We go to group 2.
Hello. We were also wondering about the pre-financing and how extensive is those activities, how often you do it, and what kind of volumes they concern. And is it only, so if I understood it correctly, you are providing cash directly to the farmers so they can have more efficient production, right?
I give a little bit of explanation about why it's needed and then come to your question. I think that's necessary to get a good comprehension of why we do that. If you take just a normal basic cycle, it means that the farmer needs to put seed in the ground. I put it a bit basic. Has to work on his land. He has to do a lot of work in advance and gets no money for it. He only gets it when the product comes from the land, it's treated, exported, packed, blah, 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 and then, so there's a time frame to overlap. In that time frame overlapping, we play a role. So that means that with a supplier of any product, we say, okay, we intend to buy this year 300 tons. And those 300 tons, they involve $600,000, for instance. It's, that would assume $2 per kilo, so it's a cheap product here. We pay in advance, for instance, $300,000. So here you have the $300,000, so you can do your thing to get the product in the end, which we need. And then when that is the case, they ship it out to us, and on receipt of the documents and the goods, we pay the other $300,000. That is a very basic example, but this is what it's all about. And then to your question, to the extent of it, that extent is not to be overestimated. We do this with partners who we know longer, where there's a good trust relationship, where we do know who they are and what, I would almost say, how their ethics are, how good is the trust relation, because it's pretty easy to lose a lot of money in many parts of the world, so if I would say to what extent, then I would think, well, if it is 5%, then it's a lot. Next to this, banks also jump into this hole, if you like, if that's English. It's Dutch. It's English too. Cap. What do they do? And we also did that for 2 years, and after those 2 years we stepped in it ourselves. But we work with Triodos Bank. Triodos is a Dutch bank, a smaller bank. They are a lot about sustainability. Rabobank does the same. And we posed that issue, and we said, well, they need pre-finance. Their local bank doesn't want to play a role, or they can't play a role. What can you do? And Triodos has this product where they then go to the origin, visit, and if they say, okay, for us there's enough base to do it, they do the pre-financing, and they remain the owners of the product from the seed to the nut until we pay for it. So they go there, they talk to the farmer, and they say, well, here's the money, but here you sign this contract, so you work on it. Now it's for us, here's the money. And that is a closed cycle which stops when the documents are sent in through the bank. The document, so if the seed comes to the nut, I simplify it to keep the example clear. Then the products are shipped, and then normally to get the goods paid, the exporter presents the documents to the bank, and that bank sends it to our bank, and we get those documents. When we pay our bank, pays back the bank of the exporter. So it's a closed cycle, and only with the documents you can go to the port and get out your container. But until the presentation in the origin bank, in this case Triodos is the owner, so for them it's a closed cycle. This finance, however, costs you 10 to 12% on an annual basis, which is quite a bit. And we did it for 2 years, and it worked out for 2 years. And now with them, not this year, but last year we did it ourselves. Yeah, and today interest rates are very low, although the price of working capital is not equal to the interest rates, but it's much cheaper. Is that an answer? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Another question was about your packaging business. You said that the Baltic company is mainly focused on that. Yeah. And it's more or less 25% of the total?
We are doing 80 million, they do about 10 million next to that. There's a little bit of intercompany business because we supply them for about 4 million euros worth of raw material, and the rest of the raw material they buy to other channels. So they are about 10 million euro turnover.
And their market is everywhere in Europe or only in Baltic countries?
No, their market is mainly in Scandinavia. The biggest country where they sell is in Finland, and Sweden is then second, and then Estonia itself. I don't know if there are Estonians in this group, but it's 1.4 million people in a country as big as Holland. So there's a lot of space. It's great to be there, but there are a very limited number of people. So they can only eat just about a limited number of nuts. So the market is obviously related to that in size.
Okay. And last thing, I'm not sure if we mentioned it before. What is your market position in terms of market share in Europe or Netherlands? Yeah,
the honest answer is that I don't know. And the reason is because it's not measured as such. If it is measured per product category, if you like. So if you say almond sales in Europe, what share do you have? Then those market shares which we do have are pretty limited because we are the company that sells the assortment. So although on almonds we do about 600 tons per year, which sounds a lot, it is nothing to a crop of 500,000 tons. So it's very limited.
Okay, we go to group 3. Start with your priority question, I would say. Yes. Otherwise, we won't go through the 9 groups.
So we are group 3, and we want to tackle the issue of e-commerce in agriculture. So the computer unpopularity as a business tool among farmers. I'm not being rude to farmers or anything, and we all know that farmers' low level of technological advancement, and we know that you want to also educate farmers. So how are you gonna tackle this problem in the future? Yeah. We know that they need a sustainable solution and something that they can use for a long period of time.
I fear that I do not completely agree with the fact that farmers are not advanced in technology. There are farmers and farmers. Obviously, you mean that as well. If you speak about a small farmer of vanilla beans in Madagascar, you're right. This is the example. if you speak about an almond farmer in California, well, they are more developed than us, I would think. It's a business. It's square meter thinking, it's productivity, it's measurement, it's a business. The Americans, we can learn a lot from the Americans in that sense. American farmers are, okay, on their business card there is maybe a farmer, but it's serious business. Those are the extreme examples, and there's a lot in the middle. But it's absolutely not to be underestimated that farmers in general are quite technology developed because of the way how they deal with their crops, how they manage their farms, how they manage their operations. Yes, the vanilla farmer who does, I don't know, 200 kilos per year or something, it doesn't count for him. But this is about niche commodities, this story, but about the majority of the commodities, it is absolutely, you speak about more and more developed companies who really can do something about it. That's also why the challenge in the end, which I presented on Monday, is really something that is in our mind, obviously. If it would all be on the level of the Madagascar vanilla farmer, with all respect, then not so big a challenge. But it's not. It's much more.
Yeah, you were mentioning the I think you mentioned on Monday the price that goes up to 300-400 per kilo
for vanilla.
Yeah, so
500-600 even.
That's the kind of that's a piece of information that they can get with their phone, but that's not only internet and everything, but it's the real technological improvement and the breakthrough that they can come up in the future. That's the real question. How you educate those people in those developing countries. We know that in the developed countries that we have a very high productivity, but however in those low level advancement and technologically low level of improvement, how can we improve that? And that's something that if we tackle this problem, it's gonna be sustainable, and there will be and social and economical improvement in those regions. So that's the real problem.
Blockchain is in fact the answer. Blockchain is the answer. If this example with spices, which I gave from Verstegen spices, also in that interview, that guy really says, I want my farmers to be able to get a fair price and to understand they have a fair price, because I want them to be there tomorrow and next year as well. So it is not so much about, we would overestimate our importance as Rumveld, if you want, if we would say we're going to educate them to create a more sustainable sourcing in that sense. Of course, in our small scale we do, but blockchain in the end will be a very important factor. That goes obviously too detailed for now, but there are more market factors in the supply chain which disrupt the transparency in pricing. The vanilla, just very short, $17 to $600. The number of farmers who has really profited from that development is maybe close to zero. And why? There are stockholders in between, also in Madagascar and here in Europe, with money, and they put it into their warehouses and they simply wait till the price is going up, and they create scarcity, and they are the winners, and they are having, so it's not sustainable. If with blockchain this is totally transparent, it would create a much better situation, which in the end should be there for everyone. That would be my shortest answer, that I would think blockchain gives the transparency and gives the understanding also for the farmer, that he gets a fair price.
Short.
Okay, we have one more question, and that is what distribution mode do they use for the transportation to, let's say Europe? So we would like to have a kind of description of the supply chain. How does it move, like with the modes of transport towards, for example, Europe?
Yeah. Okay. If you take the developed areas, for agriculture areas like China, like the US, it is in fact as it is here. So that means it gets from the farm, it gets through with trucks to the exporter, to the processor, to the packer. And from there it lands into a 20-foot container and is brought with a truck to the port, and from the port, directly or indirectly, by sea freight to the port where it is destined to. For the developed areas, it works that way. It works kind of the same way as here. If you speak about the underdeveloped ones, like vanilla is maybe the good example, but for Brazil nuts it works as well. There, it's more complex on the beginning. There's the farmer, there's a collector. The collector is a guy who works probably for the exporter, and he comes into the bush and he comes to the farmers, and he comes with cash money in his rucksack and buys this 80, 100, 200 kilos, collects it. He does that with a scooter or with a jeep. From that collector, it is brought to the exporter, and then the same. But that is basically what it is. Air freight is hardly done. Air freight is done if there is a lot of pressure on it, or if someone has ordered too late, but sea freight is basically the main route. And what you now see developing from China especially is railway. So still containers, but railway trains. There is this, China invests a lot, the new Silk routes, if you like. They really invest a lot. It's not going to happen. It has already happened, although we don't always realize sometimes things. Yeah, that will also go fast, I'm sure. So by train, but the carrier of the goods is a sea freight container. By train, coming up more, and by sea freight mainly.
Yeah, so one of our questions is, what's your customer mix? Because it wasn't clear so much in the presentation, we couldn't find it as well on the website.
Yeah.
So what's the customer mix and percentages of where you're selling to?
Yeah. I divide it into three groups, if you like. The main group for us, and that's 70%, is, as we call them, ingredient buyers, industries. And that means companies who buy our product as pressing some button. Yeah. Companies who buy our product as an ingredient to produce their own end product. So they use the sesame seed or whatever. That's by far the biggest group. Then we supply to packers, and packers who then bring it into a consumer or HoReCa packing and bring it to the wholesaler or to the supermarket. That's about 25%, 20% I think. A lot of packers, the bigger packers, they do it themselves directly, but the mid-sized, smaller packers, they are for us an important client base. And the rest is miscellaneous, wholesalers, importers, could be kind of anyone. Yeah.
And how are you dealing with customer relationship? If they have questions, like, how are you dealing with those situations, complaints, etc.?
Yeah, that's by visiting, by meeting, telephone. Trade fairs are kind of important for us. Trade fairs, because the customer base and the supplier base as well is quite international. We do about 4, sometimes even 5 trade fairs, and there invite our customers and have a meeting with them and do something social around it, obviously. But we invest quite a bit in personal contact. And with the mid-sized companies, the smaller companies, that's the way it works and appreciated. With the bigger ones, it's more difficult because the buyer changes every 3 years, and there is, I don't mean it wrongly, but that's Arthur recognizes this story. There's a new kid coming up from an MBA and inventing the wheel itself, and they shoot, and sometimes they do, so it's not cynical. But for us, it's something which we see over again, and by a tender process supported, there is no personal relationship, but that's the way it works. Yeah.
Okay, and one final question from one of my other teammates. What's Roemfeld's core capability?
Our core capability, if you would put it into one word, I would probably say logistics, because what we do is bringing product from the origin to the customer and breaking up the bulk in smaller parts, having it processed. So wholesale, import and logistics, but you ask for one, and then I would say, the service component in that sense is our added value. Yeah.
We move to group 5.
From our group, we want to understand more about your bottlenecks, which preventing Roemveld from achieving your organic target. So we understand that organic turnover really depend on the supply and demand. But which side you have the bottlenecks?
So how we develop our organic business?
I want to know you want to improve the organic products from 35% to 50%, then the bottlenecks is more toward supply side because of the lack of availability, or because that you don't have enough sale or customers for the organic?
The way we will do it, from 35 to 50%, we intend to achieve by ourselves, and that is not as easy, but in the end that's as simple as adding more specialist people to the department to create more business, because the business is there. But that's obviously not all. We also expand the assortment. We look at a wider assortment for organic products, but because the typical organic customer buys smaller quantities from a wider assortment, so the one-stop shopping principle there is, in our field of activity, much more important. If, for instance, we can supply, let's say he wants 20 products, and we can supply 9 at good conditions for him, but our competitor can supply 19 at a little bit not so good conditions price-wise, he would go for the 19. And so assortment is something to look at to develop our business, and manpower. In our business, it's a lot about people, obviously. Everywhere it is. But with us, the people, their knowledge, their network, their business feeling, that makes a difference. On a bigger scale, we are looking at acquisitions. At this moment, we even speak to one company in that sense. Maybe to. So no, I'm not going to disclose. I'm not. No. But yesterday, but that's maybe something too much internally. The Acoma, which is
stock exchange listed bot Tradin, T-R-A-D-I-N. If you Google it, you will see it, and that in our business that's a big thing. Tradin is worldwide almost the biggest one, and the fact that Acomo does it, big competitor of us, a little bit bigger than us, also makes it more difficult for us to also grow over there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So second question is about we want to know more about your logistics system, because you said that logistics is your core, and like how sustainable your logistics system or design so far?
Yeah. Our logistics is basically managed in the ERP system, so that in fact the ERP system supports the processes which we have defined and designed as efficient as possible, but that's not automatically sustainable. On top of that, we have put a BI tool, business intelligence tool, where we derive the data and the data to real information, and that means improve your transport planning outgoing, so not driving from Amsterdam to Almelo, and but improve that. So improve cycles of transport, improve a combination of customers, also talk to our customers and say, well, you order it for Thursday, but could you have it on Friday, because our driving route on Friday, so it's also cheaper, also for him, but also for us, but more sustainable. Incoming and with the transport companies, we do ask them about their initiatives and about how they optimize there. There we are out. Let's say on the outbound process with our transporter, we are more important than strange enough to on the inbound side, because we are just a pretty small one. We do 1,200 containers per year, which sounds a lot, but it's not. So we are more seeking to work with the carriers who have sustainability in their program. But the bigger ones, they do have it. They do have it.
So does it mean like you outsource your logistics to 3PL?
Not to not automatically to 3PL, because that would involve warehousing and transport. No, we outsource the part of incoming and outgoing transport, but the warehousing part we manage ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
So the last question.
But your 3PL remark triggers 3PL, even 4PL. Keep that in mind also to look at the challenge, because that brings a line to over there. A good 3PL or even 4PL, how could they manage our supply chain?
So the last question from our group is that we want to understand like the percentage of big farmers and small farmers in your supply base, and
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
So,
maybe per product group I have a pretty good idea, and the definition of big and small also differs per product group. I would be inclined to say from the more developed parts, China, from agricultural part, China and the US, if you like, some South Americans as well. Yeah, those are the bigger ones. The smaller niche commodities in the more difficult origins, like vanilla, like Brazil nuts, smaller farmers. But I don't have the exact. No. Okay.
Okay, so now for our question. What are, in your opinion, products and niche markets which are most likely to experience substantial growth in the near future?
What we expect is products which really appeal to health claims. It's also, again, that's automatically also a difficult field, because you cannot just make a health or medical claim just like that. But more and more you see nut products, dried fruits, superfoods, which is not an official term, but still, they appeal to healthy themes. So we would expand over there. In the US, that is where we look at. We also visit 1 or 2 US trade fairs in that sense, because they are always 1, 2, 3 years ahead of us. And organic, obviously, those two. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they are online, I see.
They're all online.
Those questions, yeah?
Yeah.
As we all know, it is important to Rumfeld to produce and sell more organic products. To achieve this, Rumfeld already offers some nice options like pre-financing, support farmers, which is the organic. However, it still seems to be difficult to work with more organic products. Can you explain where this difficulty come from or lie within Rumfeld? Pre-financing to support to go to organic is, I feel, not what's happening. If you want to switch to organic, you have to farm 3 years, and you're audited on a yearly basis to prove that you are really organic, and that's something where we don't play a role. But the thing in itself is true that switching more to organic production is definitely going to happen because of the EU supporting it so heavily. It's not automatically more difficult to work with organic products, I would say. It is maybe from a handling and processing side point of view, it is, because you have to meet much more strict requirements, and you have to really make sure that the product is really organic. That makes it maybe then more difficult, if you want. Yeah. What is your current stance on online sales? Are you already selling some products? We are not, no, but we do have 4 pretty big and really fast-growing customers. COVID has boosted their business hugely, and we supply them, and there we do as follows. Don't tell our competitors, but those are sometimes smaller companies who also have their financing, working capital things. Although online sales is more parts cash directly. Still, they have to pre-finance and pack and buy the stocks and blah blah blah. So what we do is we put with 2 of them, we put consignment stocks. So our stocks over there, which they only pay 30 days after they use it. So we in fact finance their working capital indirectly, and for us it's good because they buy with us, and we get good prices then, and not higher or not making abuse of it, because then it doesn't last, but it works well. So that's how we support it.
I'll take the last question and then go back.
The last one: is there room on, or how much room in terms of budget is there to invest in more organic products? Yeah, absolutely there's room. This is not so much about a budget. Budget is more about costs or revenues. This is more about working capital, I would say. So this means, do we have enough financing capabilities to really create that business? And then the answer is yes. We have pretty good credit lines, and we.
Depends on demand. If there is more demand, you will
Yeah.
move more and more.
Yeah, but is there room? I understood this. Do we have room? Yeah. Well, yes, we have. We have a shareholder which is also supporting where definitely needed financially, and he can do that.
Auditing and controlling. That's another question, I see. There's one left. Which bottlenecks are experienced when auditing and controlling organic produce?
Bottlenecks. The bottlenecks is that traces of pesticides are found. So I understood that. I understand that a farmer which switches over, pesticides don't stop on your piece of land when your neighbor still farms organically. So it's spread over, so you have to manage that as an organic farmer. And next to that, pesticides, sometimes even longer, they remain into the earth, into the ground, longer than you think. So it really takes time to get all those pesticides really out of it. And those are the bottlenecks. Yeah.
I think Group 8 is also online only. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Which question do you want me?
It's Marijn. That's not Group 8.
So are buying and or selling prices for organic products, that's really different?
I don't expect that. Today it is. Organic is more expensive, but it gets more and more mainstream. And I do much more expect in our business line, not all over, but in our business line I expect organic products to be the new standard. And yeah, 3 to 5 years the world looks differently already. And why? Because we are an importer. I talk from the capacity of an importer. And as the EU has this huge ambition, they will make it more difficult for importers to import goods which are not organic, which are not meeting really strict requirements on pesticides mainly. And if the requirements on pesticides are increasing, then you come closer and closer to organic. Even the product wouldn't be certified organic even.
Actually, can I ask one question on the pesticides? How difficult is to scale now a production with no pesticides? Because we know it's quite tough.
Yeah, it is quite tough, and especially because, for instance, in Turkey with grapes and raisins, you have organic raisins, but you have huge areas where grapes are being grown, and if you are there with your piece of land organic and around you is traditional, conventional, and they start to spread, yeah, then it spreads over. So it is for an organic producer not too easy, but yeah, it gets more and more mainstream, and organic producers also from a scale perspective go to much bigger scale. So yeah,
because if I understand also correctly, if you were farming traditionally, the land needs quite some time to go back. Yeah, 3 years. It's a long time, right?
3 years is what the audit companies require to do. But last year we had an issue with an organic supplier from us, with whom we work already for years, and we bought product, we delivered the product, and the customer tested it, and they found pesticides. And we thought, how is this possible? Long story short, it was a very dry summer in 2019, as in 2018. So what is the English word? Yeah. So the plant goes deeper and deeper to find water, and then it comes to earth layers where pesticides are still in. So the 3 years are standard, but yeah, it remains into the earth, into the land long.
And that's really interesting when you are talking about scalability, eh?
Yeah. You must have scale, otherwise you cannot finance this.
Okay, Ashraf, take the mic.
Okay, so if you can hear me, that's good. My question is, for example, you have a lot of products and you have a lot of farms. What happens to the products that basically are not in high grade or not like first class fruits or nuts that basically cannot be exported to the EU market? What happened to that inventory?
In the EU we have worldwide the highest requirements on import, in food in general. Surprisingly enough, maybe not for all food categories, but for a lot, the US is easier to enter. China is much easier to enter. India is easy to enter. I think we are driving ourselves as EU a bit crazy, to be honest. And you don't hear me saying that unresponsible products are being exported there, although there will be. But the question is more, in the future, will we get our product? If we get our requirements so high, world demand is increasing, population is increasing, the interest for our product is increasing. Yeah, why ship it out to this difficult Dutch or German importer, whereas I can much more easily, without hassle, sell it to China, US, India, where anyhow the market is growing much faster. So it's more our problem than the origin problem. It is not thrown away if you, if that would be the thought, to be honest.
No further question from Group A.
I guess Group A, are you complete?
I'm not in a time squeezer, but you are probably.
Yeah, we are the last group, so a lot of questions already have been asked. But I was wondering, how do you search or look for new suppliers around the world, and how does that process look like?
Yeah, it's not a standard process. It's about being on trade fairs as an exhibitor ourselves, as I said, 4 or 5 times a year. But next to that, we do also visit trade fairs in other countries, and there you meet new suppliers. Sometimes by branch organizations. For instance, a country like Chile has a very developed branch organization in dry fruit, and they are very active. And they come here with new exporters and do a meet and greet session. And also just by ourselves, by being creative, by doing our desk research, by following the market. It's kind of a creative job, a trader, and in that sense. So that makes it so big fun, I would also say. So it's not standard, but networking, looking around, speaking to people, being alert on your market developments. That's how it works.
And what are the requirements to work with a supplier?
Yeah, if we work with a supplier, then they must be approved by us, and that means they go through we go with them through a whole list of questions and requirements which we have in order to make them a supplier, an approved supplier. In our system, you cannot process a purchase order because sometimes the trader says, well, I just processed this one and goodbye. No, the quality department has to tick in the box that releases indeed the purchase, and they only do that if the supplier is approved. And standardly, not always, but standardly, we first like to have met with them, see them, have visited them. And the requirements we put in are very, very wide, obviously product specifications, but also things related to sustainability, to child labor, to their quality standard systems, which they must have. ISO is then the simplest one, but IFS, for instance, is a food grade system which we would require. There are more, so those sort of things.
And how long does that take, that process?
if we want to include it, the visit, it takes longer, but it can also be a couple of days if the quality department of the supplier works efficiently and quick. Then, yeah, that process can also be 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
Okay, and the last question, I think. With how many suppliers are you collaborating in total?
I have to think a bit, but I would say with 200 suppliers at least. Yeah.
While I walk back, I have a question also. So you mentioned almonds from California. Now I know that almonds is very water intense in terms of a crop.
Yeah.
And it's not the only area where it is produced. There are also other areas like Turkey, etc. So how do you select in terms of sustainability where you want to preferably work with? Is that quality related or is that
quality related? Quality related. Yeah. Almonds. They are grown mainly in the U.S. Spain is also a source, and in Chile and in Turkey, but the U.S. determines this business. And then you have the Almond Board of California. They're quite powerful. So yeah, you have almonds there in California, you have a big walnut industry there, you have a big pistachio industry, you have a bit of pecans. Of course, we would like to see different origins with different water challenges, if you like, but it's a business, and the Americans are good at that. Yeah.
Ashraf, you take the mic. Okay, maybe we can read his question because I don't think he's like.
But if I understood it correctly, they sell their products to other markets, not only to Europe market. And if so, which other countries do they sell their goods?
No, our main markets are still European. We sell half of what we do in the Benelux, and then the UK, Germany, Scandinavia are most important, and we do also a bit to Spain and France, but Greece also a bit even, but not. In the past we did when we changed our. I won't go too big in that. Don't worry, but we changed our model from a pure trading company to an importer-distributor model. That's a big change. And in the old days, when I came in 2008, we were much more a trader, and we sold loads of product to Russia. We sold it to the Middle East, we sold it everywhere. But we were then working with buyers, I said. We have to work with customers, and that's why we changed our model.
Okay, Raul, you want to take the mic? Yeah. Or we just read it? How does Ramvel deal with biological non-bio waste?
Yeah, we don't, to be honest, because we don't have it. Everything that comes in goes out, so it's not something which is in our processes.
Does that mean, in terms of sustainability, they're making their own energy, and does that waste also come from carbon emissions, or just?
Yeah, that in the. Yeah, it's great. The question was, as I understood it, how is the waste used to use it as to reuse it as an energy driver, for instance?
Or maybe do your processing plants also have sustainability in mind, like renewable energies, making vehicles that are electric?
Yeah, but we have only a limited processing process, which is about raisins, and there is raisins when they are over the processing lines. Let's say they fall down, and that rest waste we sell or more deliver, because you don't get anything paid from it. Sometimes you have to pay for it to have it accepted. That's really the case. And we bring it to a regenerating company who uses it to create energy out of it. In the origin countries, it is, as I said, for instance, with the shells, that they use it also as an energy generator, and also creating energy for their own production processes. So then it's really in a circle. Yeah. Is that an answer? Yeah. Okay. Good.
One final remark from your side.
Yeah.
For the challenge, perhaps.
Yeah. Of course, this is your course and the world. It's about sustainability. I understand that. And the challenge is obviously taking sustainability into account, but more, and I don't know if you like to hear it, but more it's about sustainability. Are we there still tomorrow? What's the future of our business model? Is the added value we bring, the added value with the markets, with the consumers, with which the customers want? And working sustainable in doing so is a criterion which gets much more important, and no doubt about it, importantly. But if we would be the best sustainable party in the supply chain, but we do something which is not needed anymore, then good luck. So the challenge is really about focus on added value. Focus on added value of our position in the supply chain. I would like to give you one name which crosses my mind, which is a really small company in the Netherlands, but which I think they could be create some disruption. That is Nutnose, N-U-T, nut, and then nose, N-O-S-E. Look at that, Google that, and look what they present in our business. Because if they would really go fast, and if they would really develop their business model big time, then think of the challenge which we have.
Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to come here and take the
Pleasure.
questions. So just from our side, guys, that's the end, let's say, of all the information you can get. So tomorrow is up to you to put it all together. And don't forget, Friday morning is the deadline for the videos. You have the schedule in your manual when you are presenting, so we will be very strict to keep the time slots. So make sure that you are here to present, and then we will have the Q&A session with the executive, let's say, panel here. Are there any questions from until yes, tomorrow afternoon? Yes, so you can you can be in contact with your coaches, and then you can arrange when you want to meet them at one point tomorrow evening if you have any questions. Okay, so it's up to you to initiate that. All right, from the group side. Any other questions that you have before we wrap up? No? Online? Any questions online? No? Okay, guys, thank you so much. Good luck. Time for implementation now. The assessment is on Friday. All right, thank you. Bye.
Okay, see you on Friday.
Really different questions from the living lab. Yeah, but it's just, yesterday I had this living lab guys, and tomorrow I have the other group. And exactly the same challenge every day. It's exactly the same. And but perhaps questions you get quite different. Yeah. That's good. Good to know. Yeah.
They should be
well more
advanced.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Good. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I think it makes it very good.
Yeah.
What am I going to ask?
Friday. Yeah.
watch the videos in the morning, I guess.
We can also watch the video of writing. So we have to bring out some, the aesthetics, no?
That's good. We need to do everything. And we do my group, and then we do short Q&A with them, just for you to clarify, do I understand what you pitch as a model or whatever, and then for us to really test, have they got it? Is it clear? What's the contribution of the individuals? And then we do a quick round of grading, and then the next group. In the end, we got everything side by side, and then we do the final. So these are the top three. And then these here's the winner, this is number 3.
What my expect, I'm just there, you decide who's the winner.
No, you decide. Okay.
What's expected of me is good to...
You're the customer in this respect. So you
maybe
may decide, I like this one.
from academic contents point of view.
No, everything will assess it is very important.
Yeah, exactly. So that's only the week thereafter. They need to have that.
Okay.
That's 50
what I think is the best solution, best thing to fix it. Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Good.
And maybe,
Bye-bye.
and maybe if maybe they can give a presentation, like the first one, can give a presentation of the company or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, in normal days easy, yes. These are not normal days, but yeah.